Now, that was a huge part of my story, a while back, that I constantly spent most of my life, fighting the dragon, suppressing, pushing down. And that, the biggest question you got to ask, you hear it all the time, right? How's that working for you?
It's much more fun to ride the dragon than to fight it.
I say hug him. A book that changed my life.
That's a taste of Do You. This week's episode of The Wise Guys, a podcast that unleashes the unthinkable in culture, religion, business, and everyday life. So it's time to step over the line, strap in, and let's see if you are willing to let Mac and the team stretch you to a place of thinking differently.
Welcome to the Wise Guys podcast, where we unleash the unthinkable and step over the line to help us see things differently and usher in a new renaissance centered around creativity, spiritual depth, and a shift from the me to the we. Hi, I'm Mac, your host, and this is a new intro if you've been listening to us. And we made a shift, and we want to talk about that tonight and how it might fit in with your shift. So we're going to talk more about that, don't worry. But it's a new identity and a new intro. But doing you tonight, that's what our topic is. We're going to talk about how to unpack how we become more authentic and unleash more of our giftings to make our lives, those around us, and the world literally a better place. So that's what you got to look forward to tonight, gang. So as I'm looking around my on the edge here, I got my wise guys with me here, man.
Holy cow, look out. Look out.
The chains are off. The reins are released. Let's ride, baby.
All I got to say to this podcast is podcast, you do you.
Yeah.
You do you podcast.
That's what we decided on. We just had to do us.
Yep.
Okay?
So let me say hello to all of you beautiful, exotic cocktails out there.
Yes.
And hey, we have some new listeners, guys.
Yeah. Okay.
Ooh, drum roll, please.
Some new countries have entered the mix.
I love it.
So now we have some people listening in India and the United Arab Emirates.
Wow.
Sweet.
Pretty cool.
We're going international now. Huh?
I like that.
Although we did have Canada, right? That's, international.
We had a big
Mexico,
following with
I
the
think.
Wise Guys in India.
We did. Yes,
So
we did.
That's fun,
And so
fun that they're back.
Well, let me add then to our welcome. Assalamu alaikum.
Very good.
There we go.
Very good. I
So,
like
yes.
it.
So
I
enter
like it.
into our space. Hopefully we're entering into your space, and we honor that. We really do. So we're privileged.
Yeah, we're happy you're here. Of
And
course.
we thank you. So let's. We're going to start this out. This first section of this podcast will be a little bit of framing of our journey recently and how things changed a little bit for us as we sort of went to the edge, sort of started to figure out a little bit more about who we are and what resonates more deeply with us. So let me get just the podcast now is going to be called The Wise Guys. We're still going to go rogue. We're still going to do a few other things, but the Wise Guy identity. Stu and I did a podcast a few years back, and we called it The Wise Guys. And there's a really interesting story about how that name came about and all that stuff. But it was really, really great. We had a really good time with it. And, again, as you can imagine, we spelled it WIZEGUIS. So, we wanted to enter into the Wise Guy. We love being wise guys. But also at the core of it was a focus or a thread of wisdom that we tried to have run through just about everything that we did. Because it's certainly at that time, and I think even now, and certainly with the Rev with us, one thing that was so important today is we need to cultivate greater wisdom. We talked a little bit about our last episode about how to figure stuff out. We need to do a little bit better, but I think wisdom can really be at the core of that, if you will, right?
Yo, Mac, are you talking to me? Are you talking to me? Yeah, I love this name, and I love the whole concept. You're right.
Well, it didn't make a heck of a lot of sense to bring a minister in and say, let's go rogue with a minister. I think wisdom is everywhere, and it's your consciousness to see it, to feel it, to know it, to look for it. Yeah. Everything's got wisdom in it by right of consciousness.
Well, there it is. I mean, and you maybe you don't use that word in your life very much. Maybe you don't even think of yourself as wise, or maybe you wish you were wise, and you look upon the gray-haireds more as the wise people. And certainly that can be the case.
Wise ones we are.
Or little guys even, okay? Yeah. Masters. So that can happen in all sorts of ways. I don't care how old you are. I don't care what it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter who you are. You can cultivate more wisdom. We all can. And it'll be interesting to see how that affects your life. I mean, we've really seen lots of great stories about that, for sure. So here we are. We are now the wise guys. And it kind of started out with a little bit of we just weren't exactly resonating with the rogue, being rogues. I don't know. It just somehow or other, we thought that was going to be great. We thought we were going to go to an outside edge, which we still want to do. But
it's a different mentality to the outside edge. You know, rogue has a context to it, like we're making trouble.
Yeah.
And we're making wisdom. We're having unthinkable thoughts. That's a very different kind of idea.
Right. And I think and I'm excited about it.
Me
big
too.
Time about us moving in this way. Because again, it's just you need resonance, and again, we're going to go into that more when it comes to just how, if you want to, affect change in your life, some of the challenges that come with that, but also some of the, litmus tests that help you confirm, maybe that what you're doing is the right thing for you. Okay.
Remaking yourself every day. That's the challenge that we're putting out there. I want to remake myself every day. I want to remake this podcast every day. As I learn more and more about what the direction of I'm going to call it God is leading us to, you get clearer and clearer and clearer about the purpose, the direction, and the vision.
Yes.
And that's what we're doing.
Yeah, for sure. The best thing you can do, in my opinion, when things don't resonate is it's this simple. Just be curious.
Yes.
And that's all we really did.
Right. Yeah, you're right.
And we sat around and talked, and had asked each other questions, and we were curious. And this is where we ended up.
In that curiosity, and here's really a key component, I think, is the willingness to be open-minded and not afraid to say, well, let's try that. That might work. I think that'll be okay. Let's give it a shot. All right? And just in that, because I think what we already realized in a very short period of time, that what has gotten us this far isn't necessarily going to get us where we'd like to go. And that doesn't make what happened bad. It just means if we keep doing the same old thing, we got the Einstein, insanity deal going for us, right? So we had an open-mindedness that was willing to go, why not?
Let's try on the new set of clothes and see how it feels and how it works. And it did work for a time and a place. And now it's the next iteration.
Right. It's just an evolution. And you know what? We could have said, well, we need to get all of our ducks in a row. We need to get this done and this done. And we have a whole checklist worth of stuff. And, we'd be getting ready for another 2 months. Right.
Just got to keep moving. Listen to the coach. You just got to keep taking one step at a time. Keep breathing. Keep moving. Just do it.
Yeah, just do it. The Nike thing, right?
Just keep doing it, though.
Yeah.
Don't stop. Don't get stagnant. Don't put your feet to the ground and put a nail in. No, keep moving.
Right. So with our old Wise Guy podcast, we're going to bring over all those old episodes. We're going to call it Season 1. And we'll make this new iteration that we just started this year, we'll call it Season 2. And that way, if you want to fall back in, you want to hear Stu and I banter a little bit, that we did a few years back. We had a lot of fun with it.
It's good stuff.
It's a blast.
Enjoy yourself.
I mean, what else could we do during the pandemic?
True.
We weren't going anywhere. So it was great to sit around and have some good conversations.
You're right.
I hope everybody did that. It was an opportunity. It's one way to look at it, right?
Sure. Yeah.
That's a wise thing to do.
It's an opportunity we lost when the pandemic stopped. We talked to each other. We sat down and spent time with each other. We called up those people, and we quit doing it about a year afterwards.
Yep.
It's like, we'll back to status quo.
Yeah, you had to get back in sixth gear again.
Got to remember, remind everybody.
Well, that's right. That's right. Just exhale a little bit. Sit back. Relax. We love you listening to us. But we think that this move also will enable us to better tell our story that we want to bring out to you, to all of you out there. That I think that, again, as Rev was saying, we can frame it a little differently. And we believe that that's going to help us and tell our story better. And again, there's a note right there for you. If you got your pad open, that this is going to be part of where we're going to go in the second half as well, and on an individual basis, as you tell your own story, right? But we're still going to unleash the unthinkable. We still think that's super important because we have to go to places that we haven't thought about before, that we got to have some different thinking, or virtually nothing's going to change, quite frankly, right? It's got to start there. But again, we'll weave in more of a wise perspective and, again, try to call out some of that stuff as we do. So that's kind of part of the journey that we've been on recently. Guys, you got anything more to add kind of in our conversations, or as we've been talking through making the transition?
Wisdom's been there the whole time.
Yeah.
It's just a little button in our brain that's shifting a little bit. It's a different purpose for going to the inside edge, a different reason to go to the inside edge. And it's more of an awakening than it is just stirring the pot. We're going to stir the pot still.
Right.
But we're going to let that stirring awaken something new and different. And so, and again, it's going to come with a challenge because there's wisdom out there. Everyone who's listening's got wisdom, whether it be in India or Canada. It doesn't matter. There's wisdom.
Wherever,
but it's maybe a different reason, a different motivation to go to that inside edge.
Yeah. No, that's a good way to put it.
The wise perspective, we talked about that a lot before, right? Like, what's the wise perspective?
Right.
Sometimes you have to go rogue, which
That's
is why
right.
we were discussing that.
Exactly.
But the wise perspective encourages you to cultivate poise, right? In any situation, uncovers adventures in missing the point. I mean, that happens a lot. You get with this kind of wisdom, you get to live for the get to. I get to do it. It's not I have to. I get to. And being wise, you just know that deep down, we just want to do it a little bit better. I mean, we're all exotic cocktails. I said that, and maybe we can sprinkle a little stardust. So we'll talk about all these things. Some new phrases.
Yeah.
But my favorite is this, Mac and Rev.
And I already know what you're going to say, but okay.
Get used to different. My favorite quote from The Chosen.
I know that.
From Jesus.
I love the idea. I love the idea. It's if you don't like what life is showing you, don't worry, it's going to change. If you do like what life's showing you, don't worry, it's going to change. It's constantly moving forward. So get used to different.
Get used to different. And it almost transitions from a getting used to it to an embracing it. Right. To an actually leaning into it. Okay.
Inviting it.
Yes. What's the adventure today? Okay. It's a brand new day.
So we on the tagline, I noticed you put stepping over the line, right?
Yeah.
So the wise guys stepping over the line. So let me step over the line for a minute.
Yeah.
Okay. So here we go. We're going to give you permission, Rogers. I'm still calling everybody Rogers.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah,
we're going to give you permission to at times just not give a shit. That is totally okay.
That was part of our mantra last time.
Totally okay to be that way.
Yeah. Sometimes you just
sometimes it's
place.
Better to just not care what that person said or that person did, or why give up all that control, right? Anyone's done any personal growth knows we give away everybody gives away a lot of control, and you don't have to. It's because it's your choice, right? We don't have to do that. Right. So we give you permission. The Rev, Mac, Coach Stu.
Yep.
Sometimes you don't have to give a shit if you don't want to.
Is that really giving up control to something greater? Yeah. That's where the greater wisdom is. I'm not trying to force the river to get to the ocean. I'm allowing it to be. So I don't care anymore. Let's let it lift me. Let it buoy me up. Let it take me to the ocean. And sometimes it's actually the better way. To release, let go, and trust.
Yeah.
And have faith that the universe is going to get me to where I want to go.
Well, and that removes a lot of the guilt. Again, because a lot of times in these transition exercises, these I want to do different. You just don't. First of all, we were talking about this earlier. That first step in all of that is sometimes you got to kind of know who you are, right? But at the same time, you sort of have to just let yourself not feel guilty about the fact that you're not going to get all wrapped around the axle over every little thing because they're all important.
So let's not skate over that too quickly, because what you said is really important, and we talked about it before we got on the mics.
Yep.
But
Right.
this is called Do You, right? Doing you assumes you know you. You know who you are. Yeah. And look, there's a lot of people out there that may not know that or may not have done that work. And for me, it was, I shared it on another episode. I mean, I went through all that, and it was, it was exciting. I mean, for me,
Right.
but that's how I want to look at it. I look at things that way. So if this is do you. If you know what that is, awesome. If you don't, be curious, right?
I lived
find out.
A good portion of my life, I didn't know who I was. I would say, who do you need me to be? I'll be that person for you. And everybody liked me. And then somebody said, do you? I had no idea who I was without that judgment or that opinion from outside of me. And it was like, I had to really go inward and really explore who am I just with me? Not with your opinion, good or bad, just my state of being the way God created me to be. And that took some time to figure out. But if you wait to do something different, when you know that, part of my process of learning was doing something, failing, making mistakes, screwing up, saying things that I shouldn't have said. Then I learned about myself. So it's both an internal and an external process of uncovering after years of wearing masks. What mask do you need me to wear? I'll put it on, and then I don't know who I am.
Right.
Well, it's pretty hard to make a course correction if you aren't on a course. Okay, so it all goes together, and I think what the Rev was saying there is a really, really important point. That in this, if you need to go through some better exercises to get a better handle on just who are you, what resonates with you. What are your giftings? What are your talents? What do you love to do? What is it about you? And maybe you've never asked those questions of yourself before. There's all kinds of resources out there to kind of help you. Maybe you need a coach. I mean, there's all kinds of different stuff, right? But at the end of the day, I think the takeaway from what the Rev was just saying is you do that along with just stepping over the line.
Both and.
Okay? You got to do it because you're never going to get and have an aha moment or realize just how beautifully exotic you are until you're on the journey. You can't do it as a preparation for the journey.
Aren't those the best? I love having those moments.
Yeah.
If you've never had one, they're the best feeling.
Right.
The aha, now I know.
Yeah. Well, I remember some of those times.
Some of those times I didn't want to know, but
but
still, those are amazing moments.
Now I know. No. So with that, now you know. Now you know where we're going, gang. We're going to take a little exhale right here. We're going to take a break, and then we'll be right back and start to talk a little bit more about doing you.
Like what you hear so far? Join us in the Rogue Nation by going to our website, www.gorogue.life, where you will find links to our social media and podcast channels, posts on the Seeing Differently blog, and a way to subscribe to all our happenings. We encourage you to become a member of our cafe, where you can interact with us and fellow Roguers and keep the conversation going. Please share us and like us. And now, let's get back to our Wise Guys.
All right. Welcome back to the Wise Guys podcast, where we are in the middle of talking about you doing you. And so we talked a little bit in the first half about our podcast and how we had to do us. And now maybe we'll transition a little bit and we'll start to talk about, as we kind of, finished out a little bit with this, about how we individually can do us, can do ourselves. And here's the question we got to ask. I think even before, let's frame it. Why? Why, Bob?
Because nobody can be you but you.
True.
To me, it's a gift from God. God made us all unique. That's the exotic cocktail piece, right? And to not share that would just be a shame. I mean, everybody has such amazing gifts to offer. That's how I see it.
Yeah.
right?
I remember my awakening when I finally started having real conversations with God in that infinite presence, taking off the masks and going, it was scary. It was a scary time. I've got this little poem that came to me. God spoke to me as Dr. Seuss. And these words just float onto the paper. I want to go ahead and read this as quickly as I can. In a chat with my who and my who-ness one day, my what raised his head and had something to say. You're not just a who, and in fact not at all. You're who-ness illusion, a specter, y'all. You're a what, not a when, not a why or a how. You're an essence that only exists in the now. Not your names or your jobs, not your thoughts or your pals, not a man, not a woman, not a guy, not a gal. You're a what, it is clear, no matter when you became. You're a what at the core, no matter what they may say. You're a what, not a where, no matter where you may be. You're a what, not a why in God's mind, can't you see? Then what am I truly, and how do I know? I spoke with a question in a tone soft and low. Like a whisper returned, my what was so clear. You're a spirit that's holy and worthy, my dear. It matters not much all your human designs, for at the end of the day, you're a what that's sublime. Transcending all titles, experiences too, love, life, and light. It's the what that is you. So when you look in the mirror and you peer in your eyes and play with the wheres and the whens and the whys, remember the goodness, the essence, the truth. You're a what that is holy. You are God through and through.
That's amazing. I just visualized a whole after-school special.
There you go.
Dr. Seuss. I
Reading
could see
Rainbow
it.
with the Rev.
Holy cow. It's amazing. That was awesome.
But that came directly from God. It's just like, quit pretending that your jobs or what you do or what somebody thinks about you. Figure out who you are.
Yeah.
And it is that divine essence of life.
You got to. Can we post that?
Sure.
Oh, yeah,
I
we'll
would
put
love
that in the show notes.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
I want to see it again.
That's very cool.
Yeah.
Sure we will. So, do you doing you in the who and the what? You are. I love it.
That's awesome.
But, here's a word that we hear a lot of times when it comes to you and doing you and all of this kind of stuff, that in order to really be the real you need to be authentic.
What in the world does that mean?
Isn't that a common word?
What
Isn't
does
that something
I hear this word.
all
What
the
does it
time?
mean?
Right, exactly.
I know what it means to me.
Authentic.
But
Okay.
And sometimes I think of that line from a movie again, A Few Good Men.
Oh,
the
yeah.
truth?
Yeah.
You want the truth?
You
You can't
can't.
handle the truth. And the
Right.
reality is most of the world cannot handle the authenticity. If everybody was
Right.
completely honest, I had some family members that couldn't handle it.
Well, we've talked about being candid versus, all of these other kinds of things. That's a little bit of a roguishness, flavor to it. But, it really doesn't have to boil down to something where, it's bad or it rubs people the wrong way. At the same time, here's this. I'm going to ask this question to everybody out there. Have you in your life ever been completely 100% authentic? Whether it's in a scenario, whether it's with another person, it doesn't matter. I'm asking a sort of a rhetorical question, okay? And the reason I'm asking it is because I think I would answer no to that, all right? And I think I want to try to give you permission to understand that you don't need to go. In order to be successful with this authenticity thing, it doesn't mean literally you got to bare your soul completely 100% all the time. Let's put it in a little bit of a proper perspective that's doable as you do you, right? And so authenticity comes in stages. It comes with you're safe, you're comfortable, the relationship's right. All of these kinds of things are all part of the process. So don't feel like you got to get there before you're authentic.
so you just use the word feel, and that's what I'm thinking with authenticity is it. When you're doing it and when you don't, even if you don't admit it to yourself, because things either feel right or they don't feel right. Mm-hmm. And when it feels right, you're being authentic. When it doesn't feel right, even though you think in your head,
right,
you're not being authentic. And here's the scary part.
There's a scary part.
Other people know. They can sense it.
Yeah.
They know if you're being authentic or not.
Yeah.
And
I spent a lot of time this week with your tribe of five idea. I really like that. And I go, have I been completely authentic? Within that tribe of five, I have been able to. Their guts are on the table and it's all real, and they will call you out on your bull crap.
Yeah.
As soon as you put it out of your mouth, they know you're not authentic and they'll call you out.
Right.
That's why that tribe is so important.
oh, for sure. Yeah. Helps you to be more authentic. To me, one word. So there's two. There's if you're looking at what is being authentic mean.
Yes.
To me, the simplest way I think about it is it's just being vulnerable.
There you go.
For me,
Unzip the zipper, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
That's really what it is. But if you want to be, if you need a little more on it, it's really just being true to your own personality, values, and spirit, no matter what kind of pressure you're under to act differently. Just being true to you.
That's the thing. If you're authentically true to yourself, I guarantee you somebody's not going to like it. You got to be okay with that. You got to be okay with the negative opinion about who you are, because not everyone is going to like you.
Well, where I know a lot of this rub can happen as well is one thing if some of your friends, if you really kind of take this to heart and decide to sort of be more authentic, some of those people might not resonate anymore. Okay, that's a relational thing there. But you also, almost all of us have to also deal with the work environment. And we have to go into a work environment, and to some degree, we have to conform and comply with the corporate culture, with dealing with our bosses or dealing with our people on our team and all that kind of stuff. And again, what I guess I'm trying to say here is that that's all part of the deal too. And I think there are also degrees of authenticity depending upon the situation, because you just, you have to walk before you can run in it. All right. And so you have to feel your way in it. But believe me, if you have to constantly, as Rev was saying, put the mask on every day when you go to work, then maybe it's time to consider maybe finding some other place to work. Right. I mean, at the end of the day, that's going to just eat away at your soul.
So, back to what the coach said, God made us. God doesn't make junk. But we go to work and we say, who God made, I have to put a mask on at work.
Yeah.
You've put the money and the paycheck before God. You have put the likability with the people at the job in front of God.
Yeah.
So you got an idol there in front of the true authentic expression, the beautiful work of art that God made as you.
Well, Richard, there's only one thing I can say to that, Rev.
Surprise! Holy cow.
See, authenticity is a cultural shift. This isn't just an individual shift. We have to shift the culture, because really, the fear is driving the boat right now.
Yeah.
We're afraid to be ourselves.
Right.
That's why I look for my tribe of 5, my tribe of 10, who I can just let it all hang out.
Yeah.
It's important. That's what I hope we're doing here with this podcast.
Yeah, and I think to reemphasize why it's important, because then it helps you take the next step. I mean, these are all, most of the time, incremental things. Sometimes they can be quantum leaps. Yes, I'm not going to take that off the table. Sometimes you can have just an unbelievable aha moment and make a quantum leap somehow with your personality or with your ability or that always can happen, but that's not the normative. That's not the normal way most of us process stuff. And so now we look for the one step, the journey, the next increment, the breadcrumbs. We follow them one thing at a time, and we get more and more comfortable with who we are. And then we're able to unzip the fly a little bit more. I mean, it's all a process, and you got to be okay with that. You got to realize it and love it. And some of it is coming. You might have to love you love the dragon. We've talked about that before, for sure. You're going to have some things that are going to come up in you that you aren't going to quite be so happy with and pretty.
I'm going to be okay with loving my scars, loving my mistakes, loving my dark, my shadow side, as well as the bright side as well. Because we're never going to get there unless I can love every part of myself.
That's right.
The good, the bad, and the ugly.
Now, that was a huge part of my story, a while back, that I constantly spent most of my life, fighting the dragon, suppressing, pushing down, And that, the biggest question you got to ask, you hear it all the time, right? How's that working for you? Okay.
It's much more fun to ride the dragon than to fight it.
I say hug him. A book that changed my life. I don't remember who wrote it. It's Hug the Monster.
Yeah.
Hug
And
the
the monster is, I've met the enemy, and it's me. When I can hug myself, then I open up a field for other people to love me with all of my flaws.
Yeah. Well, I think I did a meme. Maybe I'll put it out this week. I think it says something like, tell your monsters a bedtime story.
Oh, yeah.
Because they have monsters under their bed too. Monsters under your
Sounds
bed.
like Roald Dahl.
That does sound like that. Yeah.
So,
That's awesome.
And you deal with the adversity. Yes, of course it's going to come. Rev's already mentioned the tribe of 5. So as you go through this discovery process, as you go through this isn't working for me anymore. How do I need to shift? Whether it's me, what I'm looking at, what I want to do. The tribe is a huge help in that. It's a support mechanism. They're going to love you for exactly who you are, even if in that moment you haven't even come to grips with who you are.
Amen.
But they see you.
They'll tell
already.
you. Yeah. If you ask, if you dare ask, they will tell you.
Well, and they'll tell you when you don't ask. Because I love you enough to not let you play small.
Yeah.
Quit hiding. All the oxen free. Come out and be you because you're amazing.
Yes.
So true.
Yes. So we got to call each other out. We do. We need to, again, are you the cocktail with the umbrella? Do you have a squeeze of lime in you? Do you have an olive on whatever it might be? It's unique and it's beautiful, and we don't want to miss any of it, right? So,
so many people are walking around this planet because somebody said something. Somebody didn't approve of them, and they took it on as their truth. And they've lived year after year after year under the lie that they were told about themselves, maybe when they were 10 years old.
Right.
And now they're 50, 60 years old, and they're still living the same lie because somebody said it. It's time to step outside the edge of that lie.
Wow. Yeah.
And that's not easy. We get it.
Nothing easy about it.
We get it. We're not trying to make it sound like it's just no big deal and flip it by any means.
Stacy Charter once wrote this: there comes a time when you have to stand up and shout, "This is me, damn it. I look the way I look, I think the way I think, I feel the way I feel, and I love the way I love. I am a whole complex package. Take me or leave me. Accept me or walk away."
I think in one of our episodes, we were talking about the little red dress thing that I'm putting it on, and this is me, and I'm strutting it.
Oh, yeah. I used to play for a singer, and she was an older lady, and she was big as a truck.
Yeah.
Beautiful, beautiful lady. And she came out on stage, and she strutted every show, and she said, "My mama said that if you can't hide it, paint it red." So here I am, baby.
That's awesome.
I love it.
Yeah.
See, it's those kinds of attitude of the mind.
Getting to that point, though, is the challenge, right?
Right.
How do you get to that point where you can say that?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And you can say it with confidence.
I agree.
It's a lifelong
I would
lesson.
say it even if you don't feel confident, right? Let's put it out there.
Yeah.
Let's make it happen.
Yeah.
Well, and you start in the mirror.
manifest.
Stand up in front of the mirror, stand there naked, and say, "If I can't hide it, paint it red. Here I am, world."
Oh, man.
If you can't
Be
accept
careful.
yourself in front of the mirror,
Oh, we're painting quite a picture here, aren't we?
Oh, man. What just happened? I don't know what just happened, but we're painting red things in front of the mirror. I don't know.
Stu's blushing.
You know what I think about when we're talking about this? I think, and this was an impromptu thing, I think of the time when Henry Winkler walked up to the mirror as the Fonz and he just went, whoa.
Yeah, right.
Right?
Yeah.
I don't need to call it.
When was the last time any of us did that?
You just spontaneously looked
Because
in the mirror and went, whoa.
the world tells you that's ego. No, it's
Right.
ego not to claim you're magnificent.
Yeah.
Not at all. You're right. No, it's not ego at all. So maybe to kind of the last part of this, we'll share a few thoughts. And if you don't, I'm going to introduce you to this woman. She's amazing. I've seen her in person. I've read lots of her stuff. And if you're in this mode, if you're in this, I think I want to do different. I'm going to leave my job, and then what would I do and all that? She was a lawyer, left her job to become a writer. The whole story there. I'm not going into it. Her name is Tama Keeves, and she's brilliant. Let me just put it that way. Rich, the Rev calls her a rock star. As a matter of fact, she's coming to our church in May 5th, the Unity North in Atlanta. So I highly encourage you, even if you never been to our church or you don't want to ever come back, that's okay. Come see Tama.
No, it's not okay with me.
Yeah.
There's a rock star will be on the week after.
Yeah. Okay. So she's got some great wisdom. Yeah. And I just wanted to share a few tidbits of her wisdom because I think you could really take them to heart, and we'll flesh them out a little bit in our own perspective. So here's one. We can't plan an inspired life. We can't plan an inspired life. Because why? It has to come from where? Inspiration. Right? And typically that can't be checklisted. Right?
Flow with the water. It's going to take you to the ocean. You've got to cooperate with the movement of life.
Right. Mm-hmm. It's not about figuring it all out. It's about being inspired in new ways. And how do you get inspired in new ways? You got to expose yourself to some new stuff usually. Certainly some things, and we'll talk about this as part of the last part of this, it can come from an internal creativity and we'll call it a move of the spirit if you want me to really get more technical. But the inspiration, who doesn't want an inspired life? Right? Should we aspire to inspiration? I think it would be a good idea. Mm-hmm. Right? So you can't plan it. So don't think the next seminar, the next book, the next coaching session, whatever. Can those things help and come alongside? Of course. But at the end of the day, you got to look for the inspiration in it all. I think that's a beautiful wisdom and counsel. How about this one? The possibilities change as we do. I think we've already hinted at this, haven't we?
Mm-hmm. You don't know the options before you till you take the step. And there aren't options available till you take the step. And then, there's more choices here than I thought. Right. But you got to take the step first before you see the options.
Right. You can't even put them on paper.
You cannot. Because they're not in your field. You can't think of them. Right. So you got to move forward and then, I see. Okay, I can go this way or that way.
Yes.
There's more options.
Sometimes it's just opening your eyes or maybe just looking left and looking right instead of just looking forward with blinders on.
Take those blinders off.
Or maybe you're looking forward and there's blurry images in front of you. How about this? Try to make them clear and see what they are.
Right.
Right?
Change the lenses you're looking through, maybe.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's so interesting that we want to figure it out. We want to have it all figured out first, And quite frankly, if that's you, if that's where you're coming from, then guess what? Whatever the answers come are going to be limited by how much you can figure it out.
It's exactly why Moses never got to the promised land, because he thought he had to do it all himself. He had to figure it out through his humanness. He didn't make it. Yeah. He had to rely on something greater. He had to open the vision, take the glasses off and put a different pair on and go, God's here. I can rely on something that's moving in the direction of my good and not just myself.
Yeah, yeah. Well, there it is. I mean, there's story after story after story here, gang. It's not like we're coming up with anything brand new here, but sometimes it takes an aha moment to say, golly, you're right. I never thought about it that way.
The way I have to visualize things sometimes for them to make sense. So the way I visualize this, what you guys are talking about, is it's from the movie National Treasure, right? Uh-huh. You seen that one?
Great movie.
Nicolas Cage, right?
Nicolas Cage.
And they find these goggles that supposedly Benjamin Franklin had made, and they're looking at the back of the Declaration of Independence, right? And there's a map on it and all this craziness.
Right.
But these goggles, they have all these different lenses on it, and as you put a different lens in front of it, different things get exposed on the back of the map that you couldn't see with the naked eye or even with one of the lenses. So it tells me to you need different perspectives, which is why I love just getting in conversations with people, no matter who you are, no matter what you think, no matter what you do, because You're going to give me a perspective I may not even have thought of.
And there might be wisdom there.
Oh, there will for sure. For sure there will be. And I love one of my favorite things to say is this. Wow, I never thought about it like that.
Exactly.
I mean, I love to be able to say that, but you can't say that if you're not having these conversations.
Right. Well,
right?
You know, the way I interpret Jesus saying, turn the other cheek, it's not let him hit you on the other side. It's like, look a different way. Think a different way.
Yeah.
Be open to a different perspective than the one that you've always been just honed in on.
Exactly.
That's good.
Which is, you know, what
Yeah.
Tama is saying in her next one here, live unreasonably. Set aside common sense. Everything you've thought, set it aside for a minute because you don't want a common experience. If you want to have the same thing you've always done, keep thinking the same way. And don't open your mind, your heart, or your eyes, or your ears to a different perspective. We've got to know that God is so much bigger than anything we've ever thought before. Life is so much bigger. But you got to be willing to listen to somebody who's got a different thought.
Mm-hmm.
Well, think of how many characters, how many people, how many stories that you read in the Bible, all right, since we brought Moses up earlier, where it was unreasonable. You know, God seemed to be unreasonable in the call, whatever that might have been, right? That there certainly had to be this, that is completely unreasonable in order for, quote, God to say, yeah, you're right. So guess what? You need me, okay? You know, kind of get a little bit outside of your own, you know, knowing, and let's go to a greater knowing, like the Rev said. So, and we're not necessarily that comfortable. Live unreasonably? That sounds like it's unthinkable, doesn't it? I mean, that sounds like an unthinkable thought.
Mm-hmm.
Set aside common sense? Haven't we been taught our whole life?
Follow the rules. Do it the way we've always done it.
Have common sense.
People are doing that now anyway. No one has any common sense these days. There, I said it. Nobody has.
But here's the deception in it. Most
They're not
of
learning
us
from it, though. That's the
think
problem.
That we are. We don't see it for what it is.
Right.
I think
Is
that's part of
common
the problem.
sense just another iteration of the herd?
Yeah,
Just
right.
think the way everybody else thinks.
Well,
I love the Rebels and Mavericks that are out there. I've learned more from Rebels and Mavericks and Rogers than I have from the people who just walk lockstep the way you're supposed to do it.
well, the key word there is what? Common.
Yeah.
Right.
That says it all, doesn't it?
What do you think of this one? Consciously let go of what tires you, and what inspires you will take its place.
Create a void.
Isn't that incredible wisdom?
Why are you holding on to the anchors that are weighing your life down? Let them go.
Yeah.
Let the people go. Let the experiences go.
Yeah.
No, it's comfortable.
Right.
But I'm tired.
People hold on.
Well,
They hold on.
and you know what? We can go to this place just in this podcast for me, just recently, where there was just some stuff we were almost going to talk about tonight. I had a couple different things that we were going to have on the agenda. And you know what? I got to the place where I was just tired with that thinking, tired with the energy that had to go into that conversation or all of it. And I had to lay it down so that I could let something new in that could inspire me.
So what thoughts have you been carrying and holding around forever and ever that are leaks in your life? That are dragging you down, dragging you under the water, and not letting you become more of yourself. It's time to just consider letting them go.
Yeah.
With love. I release you. Thank you for your service to me as long as I needed you, but I don't need that thought anymore. I'm open to a new one.
Right.
Make space for that new one.
Right. But a key component in all this, and we talk about this all the time, so we're gonna kind of end with this. The more faith we have in mystical realms, define that, but just let it sit with you for a second.
Mystery.
The more faith we have in mystical realms, the more ease we have in a material one. Now, just think about that for a second, gang. Write that down. Replay it. The 10-second thing where you go, you know, on the little button. Think about that. The mystical realms. What does that mean? What does that say?
We've put the cart before the horse. It's, you know, the world is all about what's happening on the earth. And it's what's happening in the realm of heaven first and foremost. That's got to come first. My relationship with my divine essence, my spirit, the spirit and the divine essence of everybody around me. If I've not put that first, That's the mystical, the mystery, the not knowing. It's taking the step, not knowing what's going to be next, but knowing that God will be there to hold my hand, to help me fly, to lead me. That's got to come first.
Yeah.
And when we don't do that, life is limited. It is bounded to a limited consciousness.
One word defines this for me: trust.
Yeah. We've talked about that.
Just trust.
You're exactly right. If the pie of your life doesn't include a slice, at least a slice of the mystical realm, then we're going to encourage you to cultivate that, because it will change everything, right?
Not knowing must precede knowing.
Yeah.
Everything that's ever been created on this planet started with not knowing, but the guts and the courage to lean into that.
Right.
And then the knowing came as a result.
Exactly.
And guys, let me tell all the Rogers out there, this is easy to do. It's let me tell you, all you got to do is start.
Yeah, that's right.
Is just pay attention, right? Because mystical things are in your life all the time, and you may not see them or notice them for many reasons. Blinders are on, like we talked about earlier, right?
Yep.
Something's a little blurry. I'm getting tapped on the shoulder. I'm like, what is that? What is that? What is that? Right? So just pay attention. Like start to open, be more awake in life than asleep. And this will be a part of your life. You won't even have to try. It'll be easy, right?
Well, things will start to happen that you never could possibly imagine would happen. All right, so there you go. So there we are. Do you, whatever that process looks like, wherever you need to start in that journey, wherever you are in that understanding and depth of spirituality, all the above, go one step further. Just take it.
I want to, my final word for the day, if I can. I know we're getting close to time. It's a quote by Martha Graham that absolutely sparked my life and propelled my life into the greatest
we wanna hear
expression.
that.
She writes, "There is a vitality, a life force, an energy, a quickening that is translated through you into action. And because there is only one of you in all of time, this expression is unique. And if you block it, it will never exist through any other medium, and it will be lost. The world will not have it. It is not your business to determine how good it is, nor how valuable, nor how it compares with other expressions. It is your business to keep it yours, clearly and directly, to keep the channel open. You do not even have to believe in yourself or your work. You have to keep yourself open and aware to the urges, the tap on that shoulder, that motivate you. Keep the channel open."
Love that.
Well, with that, we'll drop the
There
mic.
is only one you in all of eternity. I love that.
Yes. And
All of time.
you are loved by the Creator beyond your wildest imagination for all of eternity as well.
Amen.
I got to put the plug in for that.
Oh, yeah.
Okay? So with that, we hope you had some value here. We love this conversation. This was great. I hope you appreciate sort of our doing us as we've transformed and transitioned. Love to hear your thoughts on that. All right.
And everybody out there, if you like what you're hearing, please, at whatever podcast platform you're on, rate us.
Yes.
Please give us 5 stars.
Yeah,
We're going to ask for 5 stars.
it'll help us get better.
And tell your friends, tell
Tell
your
your
family,
friends, tell
listen
everybody.
to us.
Yeah.
Yeah. So with that, we appreciate you listening, and thank you very much. It's our privilege and it's our joy to be able to share some of our thoughts and whatever's come to us, and we hope it's made your life better. So until next time, appreciate it, everybody. Love you. Bye.
Whoa, you made it and can now unbuckle. Thanks for listening to Do You, where we encouraged you to better understand you and how engaging in that process of authenticity can unleash your amazing gifts. Remember to visit the website at www.gorogue.life for lots of follow-up information. See the show notes for any links to episode content, and join us in the ongoing Catholic conversation where every week we post some thought-provoking questions for your own roguish conversation. Oh, and of course, tell everyone you know about us and like, follow, and engage. Be sure to tune in next week when Mac unleashes another unthinkable conversation. That is, if you dare.